we're live. Welcome, one and all, to this week's episode of Character Choices. This crazy thing we do as a family here on the interwebs, where we, make choices, roll some dice, and seek out adventure, all in a quest for the greatest story ever rolled. We are so glad to have you all with us here tonight. Or if you're watching this a little later on down the line somewhere, we're super glad to have you join and experience this journey with us. Hope that you have fun, that you learn things alongside us, because we are all learning things as we go. There is very, very much no doubt about that. I think this week more than any, not more than any, but this week really hit home how much I still have to learn about being a dungeon master in the realm of Dungeons and Dragons. It is a complex, very complicated thing that I have not mastered yet. And so, as always, bear with us as we try to figure out this thing. While it's complicated, it is super gratifying, and we hope that you get a chance to give it a try if you haven't in your own life, and if you do it yourself, with your friends, with your family. Good on you, and we hope that you're giving it a solid go. And for those of you that maybe are on the edge of whether to jump into the whole DM ring, literally, if I can do it, you can do it. So give it a go. We were just having to talk about this the other day, about people taking the leap into the dungeon master scene or the game master scene. But anyways, I digress. Announcements. Announcements are the same as they generally always are. We've got past videos up on our YouTube channel, so if you aren't caught up, go and check them out there. We also have a couple of episodes of our second program that we do here on our channel, Out of Character, where we get together and kind of talk about what's been going down with our characters, but we're out of character, as the name implies. And you can check that out there. We have one pretty fun one-shot up on our YouTube channel as well that we did right around Christmas time. So if you're looking for something you can just dive into without too much commitment, go check that one out and see what you think. Beyond that, feel free to follow us on Instagram and Facebook for up-to-date information about what's going on with our programming, and up-to-date information about how our lives intersect with reality in ways that make our schedule flexible every once in a while. But that's a really great place to kind of keep up to date on all of that stuff. So beyond that, I guess I'll ask those of you that know better and more than me, is there anything else we need to discuss before we dive into this episode? I see a few shaky heads. Okay, sweet. Then, without further ado, we will dive into this week's episode of Character Choices. And we will do so with a bit of a reminder of what went down last time. Last time on Character Choices, your party descended through the passageway that was revealed by Bitsy through her use of a star map that she found at the bottom of a river literally like 100 miles away from here. In that moment, Wicket attempted to open it first. I think Bitsy was like, hey, why don't you give it a try? And was assailed by a shadowy substance and then a vision detailing a battle between two tribes of gnomes. You continued to, got through that, passed through the door, entered the passage, spiraled downwards into a secondary space in which many things were discovered, including a symbol seems to be present in this space, which some of you, after a history roll, almost said lore, that's fate. After a history roll, remembered, it resembled the symbol that has become universally connected with sorcery, which is kind of a hiss and a byword in Mindal and at large, if not in Andromar. And you saw two doors, and this is where things got cray. Some of you went through one door, and some of yous went through the other door, and two entirely different scenarios played out briefly. If you recall, Pimiver and Wicket, the two of you went through the door on the right, based on my map here, and entered into a space that I'll show you here in a minute. But it seemed relatively mundane, except for a bit of kind of flickery energy coming from the floor. Yeah, a large kind of design built into the floor with 4 doors on the far side. The other 3 of you, beginning with Bitsy, went through the left-hand door and entered into kind of an ethereal, shadowy version of the same space, with a different cast, a different pallor to it, and strapped to an altar beside this large symbol in the floor was a ghostly, ethereal, gnomish form, shackled in spectral chains to this altar in the room. Bitsy was able to shrug off the fear as this being turned and looked in your direction. More curious about this kindred spirit, maybe literally. See how I did that with spirit because it's like a ghost. But anyway, managed to shrug it off, and then both Akerly and Anazriel stepped through the door after their friend, diving into unknown danger to help this friend that you've made fairly recently still, and stepped into the same space, seeing the visage of the same spirit and being scared to freaking death. You guys both rolled real bad on that. And you are frightened, we'll remember. I'll see if I can pull out a ring here maybe to help me remember that you're frightened. And not only that, you were so frightened that you intuit that many, many years have just been lost from the length of your life. Akerly, it was determined that you are now 20 years older than you used to be biologically, physiologically, there's a word. And Anazriel, you are 40 years older than you used to be. In this space, and currently afeared and frightened. And that was the environment right at the end of our session, Pimiver and Wicket. You are standing in this room, and so the story goes, a rumble began to appear. A great grinding of earth and stone as several mounds of rock protruded from the ground, and from these mounds appeared 3 forms, metallic, segmented, with an angular face and a couple of mean-looking kind of mining claws, a spike on its long, segmented tail, as these things crawled out of the floor. The true, present, very real incarnation of a thing that you only saw in vision, Wicket, shortly before this, as they rise up and kind of in your direction with a clatter and a clank, and kind of snap their metallic jaws. And this is where we have found ourselves. I suppose it makes sense to sort of see this. Hold on one second.
I'm thinking it's actually better that Wicket ended up in the room with the mechanical creatures.
Oh.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she'll know some stuff.
We also know that Wicket doesn't like to get up close and dirty with anything, so anything that could harm her, that is.
This will be a learning curve.
I'm pretty sure right about now, Akerly is really wishing that she had gone into the other room, Wicket. So count your blessings.
Wicket's really wishing that Akerly came in with her.
I was gonna say, we're also wishing other people had come into the room with us.
You guys should have left Bitsy alone and come with us.
This is what you see before you. Several tall pillars with lifeless torches hung in sconces upon them. The large symbol on the floor. The altar nearby. I'm just trying to find rings that say frightened on them. I'm fairly certain I have some.
David, the screen is green. Is that for anyone else?
Yeah, I was about to say something.
Sorry, say that one more time.
The screen is green.
Interesting. Hold on one second.
Oh, green.
Unless
I'm
I
not-
suddenly develop night vision or something.
I thought it was
So
my
I'm not seeing green anywhere at all on my Zoom or in my.
I'll take a picture and send it
Oh
to
Sorry,
you.
I'm
so you
already
can
yes.
see.
Are all of you seeing it? You and Maddie, Abby, you too as well.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay, show me
Unless
what.
we all just develop night vision.
Show me what you're seeing.
We all get it at the exact same moment.
Or this gnome spirit possessed our computers.
Huh.
Right? This is what happens when you talk about ghosts without the proper rules.
Here, I'll hop up on Twitch, David, and see if it's happening for them.
You know
Or
what?
if
I'm
it's-
on Twitch right now, actually, and 5JS11 says they can see everything fine. So that.
Okay.
You can just.
As long as they can see it,
Yeah, it's just a.
then it's fine.
I don't have
That-
to see the players or the map.
We don't need to see each other.
You do though. Well,
I'll just talk to a green screen. It's
Huh.
fine.
it's so strange that that's happening to all of you.
That's
which
so
is
weird,
crazy.
right?
Technology, man. Someday this will be over, and we'll all be able to get together in one place and do this without this ridiculous interface. So, I mean, it's a great blessing, and I'm grateful for it. So, but anyway, I think it's up and running everywhere else just fine. So I don't know. Maybe try and minimize a screen and bring it back up again. Maybe. We definitely can't shut down and restart. So.
Or maybe this is just our secret team.
It just went away for me.
Okay. Is it good for you guys?
Oh wait, it just came back.
Okay,
Died.
when I pin the video, it turns green.
Yep, same.
Interesting.
If I click on someone else's face so that video is not my main one, then it's fine. But when I go back to that one being the main one, it goes green.
Okay.
So maybe if we just go to gallery
Yeah.
view.
Oh, maybe.
It's really tiny, but we can see it normally.
That's better. That's smart, Emma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try that rather than try and shuffle everything around here. So. Well, I don't have. I'm not sure where the frightened ones are, so I'm just going to drop these on you, Akerly and a Nazriel.
I ain't scared of no ghosts. Just ate.
I'm definitely scared for sure, 100%. Did not sign up for ghosts.
I'm just gonna let the one represent that. And this is where we find ourselves, y'all, being here in this space. And here's what I want to do. I want to go to Bitsy
Oh.
for a moment.
But she's not ready. She's not ready.
She better be.
Okay, she's ready. No, that was a long.
So you've entered this space and you see this form, a mere 2.5, maybe 3, maybe right at about 3 feet on this relatively small altar. And once again, it is a thin, almost wispy form. You can see through it in many places, and is chained by the ankles and the wrists, down by these thin, wispy, semi-transparent chains that seem to connect to this altar in some spiritual sense. She is rising off of the altar, maybe 3 or 4 inches, and kind of hovering above the altar. And you can see her head kind of turning and moving. And as her head moves back in your direction again, having already shaken this off, you're free to just kind of look. And what you can see as these eyes search in your direction is that they are kind of milky, all one color, very much reminiscent of somebody who is almost blind in some way or other. But the head turns in your direction, and you hear a low moan rise from within this form, and then a voice comes from it, saying, "Who is there?"
It is I. Bitsy.
There's another long kind of moan, and the spirit rises an inch or two off. Approach me if you dare.
Not like a good dare, or a bad dare. Because, like, some dares are fun and, like, comical, but some are really bad. Sometimes people get hurt, and I don't really want to get hurt, but I'm gonna do it because you intrigue me. And I'm gonna walk forward.
Okay, you take several steps in the direction of this creature, and as you do so, her form settles down ever so slightly, in the sense of it lowering another inch or two closer to the altar. And as you step close, you can see her head turn once again, kind of turn over and kind of look in your direction. And then you see the body pulse with a very faint light. The whole thing becomes just a hint brighter for a second. And then everywhere on its body, that light begins to move and draw away upwards along the legs, the arms, the torso, towards the neck, and gathering at the head, and then finally coalescing around the eyes of this creature. And suddenly, as there's a kind of a flare, and then the light settles, you can see that the eyes have become clear, human, not human, gnomish, but almost mortal looking, almost as if you could reach out and touch them. They feel more concrete, more physically present than any other part of her body, and you see the rest of the body has faded even farther than it had been a second before. The eyes lock onto you, and the voice reappears. I see you, child of House Melanet.
I only know what a couple of those words mean, but I see you too. It's really nice to meet you. What's your name?
My name is Renzi Hinterhain.
Renzi Hinterhain. That's a lovely name. Can I be of assistance? You looked a little, tied down.
You hear another low moan escape from her, and it's hard to tell whether the moan is mournful or if it's a moan of pain. It's really hard to say, and she kind of settles. She rises up again and kind of pulls at these shackles on the altar, and then settles back down and says, "Listen."
Okay, I'm listening. All ears. Both of them. Both. 1, 2. Open. Listening.
Long ago, I was kin maiden to the Queen of Endelwyn. I was the last bastion between the threat of the Kuamel and the House of Melanet, though that was unforeseen and I woefully underprepared. I managed to keep them from overthrowing Endelwyn, but was myself captured and sacrificed. My life force and the elemental power that I bore was drawn upon by the Kuamel to access the power of this place. And she kind of strains towards you ever so slightly, kind of pulling against the chains and then back again.
Wait, so were you sacrificed by the people that you trusted or people that you didn't trust?
I was sacrificed by rebels.
Dang rebels.
The rebels of the Kuamel.
Cormel. Okay, I'm following.
This place is a base of power. It is a chancel of the cupbearer, a sacred shrine to Sif, the cupbearer of the gods and many other powerful entities. There are many chancels, but this is the chancel of passage. Your coming and that of your friends has activated the chancel. It reacts to your presence and the presence of your friends. Its power drawn through me. I cannot hold forever. This is a problem. For the chancel is connected to the ethereal realm. And if I cannot hold it back, it will corrupt the passages in this place. Corrupted with loss, and those who enter the passages will also be lost.
Oh, I don't wanna be lost. Okay. Power place. You're holding it together. How long can you hold it? Can you take a break? Because I've learned that when you're tired, you should just take a break. So if that's an option, I mean, you should definitely look into it because it's not healthy to, go 100% all the time.
In the middle of this, she screams and rises up as far as she possibly can, her body arching upward and held down by the shackles on the altar. And she kind of screams an odd, kind of distant scream. He comes!
Oh no.
He feels the power. We must hurry if he comes.
No, keep him out.
He will pass through. He must not pass through. And she screams again, and the shackles rattle with deafening sounds. And the symbol at the center of the room suddenly bursts into light, and she fades to almost nothing.
No.
And she screams, and then a form appears in the center of the space above the symbol on the floor. At first you're nervous, as she said, he comes, but you see that the shape that appears is actually a semi sort of spectral image of a chalice, a cup, a familiar theme in the couple of places that you've been here
That's
so
an
far.
it, not a he.
It rises up, sitting firmly upon the center. It is easily twice as high as you. A large version of this chalice, spectral, in the center of the room. She settles down as this appears, panting. I can only hold it for so long. Please, you must release me. You must activate. And she turns and she looks. Place the mark upon it.
Place the mark on the chalice, or is the chalice the mark, or something just appeared in the room?
You must place the mark on the chalice. The mark.
The mark. What's the mark?
And as you raise your hands, you notice the palm of your left hand shining at you. In the palm of your left hand, you suddenly see a mark. A small mark that is close to, but not perfectly resembling, the mark that you saw on the spectral sort of clothing that she was wearing, the mark that was described to you by Wicket in the vision that she saw. And it's the image of the faint lines that have appeared in your hand, tracing the image of a tree, a very basic form of a symbol that resembles a tree. And in the trunk, a point of light. And above the canopy of the tree, hanging as if in the air above it, 3 additional points. And you recognize this as the symbol upon the necklace that you were given before you left your home in Ornsdale. And now it blazes on your hand. Blazes is probably the wrong adjective. It glows with a kind of a silvery blue-green light, similar to the light around you here in the room. The mark of the Laframel. The mark of House Melanet. Place it upon the chalice. He comes!
Don't freak out. Don't let him come. I'm gonna go put it on the chalice. Nothing bad's gonna happen, okay? Bitsy is here, and she's gonna start walking towards the center of the room. Nothing bad's gonna happen. He's gonna stay in a tiny hole. Nothing bad's gonna happen.
She kind of, you're just like singing in spite of your fear as you like trance through the room. You're like, and you reach the chalice, the spectral chalice. As you approach it, you can see at about the same hand height as the handprint that you placed your hand in to open the door down here, you can see a matching symbol to your own, glowing from the side of the chalice.
I'm gonna talk over. Nothing bad's gonna happen if I place the mark on the chalice, right?
He comes. He mustn't come.
He mustn't come. I'll take that as a good. Okay. Now I'm just gonna try to like line up the marks with the mark on the chalice, and I'm. You know what? Let's think about this. Let's think. Can I investigate the chalice and like the surrounding?
If you want to quickly do this, yeah. What are you looking? Where are you looking? What are you kind of trying to observe or look at?
Just anything that might mean death or destruction or harm.
Okay.
You know?
I mean, I guess we'll treat it like you're checking for traps. We'll go with an investigation check.
Yeah, that's okay. 10.
What's that?
A 10.
Honestly, the form of this spectral chalice, which, by the way, you've seen some strange things, some otherworldly things in your travels so far. More so than like a normal person from normal old Earth would, I'm sure. But I mean, you've been around a few things. Most of the things you've seen that are like this have happened to you in dreams and so I imagine at this point you are beginning to be awed, AWED, overwhelmed a bit, and your attention is drawn almost forcefully towards either the chalice or the ghost that's tied to the creepy altar of doom behind you, and you don't really notice much else. It sits right in the center. You see the symbol on the floor, you see the pillars around, and you see the 4 doors, which I think I mentioned last time each glow with a slightly, or each shrouded in a different light or substance. Before, and you do notice this now, there is one that shines faintly with a whitish light, one with a golden light, one with a reddish light, and one that is shrouded or at least outlined in a sort of wispy, writhing, inky blackness. You do notice that, but it's hard to say beyond this. With a 10, you can't tell if something's going to fall out of the ceiling and kill you, or jump up from the floor and kill you. As far as you know, there's nothing here. Are you speaking? Sorry, I can't hear you.
Okay.
There you go.
Sweet. Bitsy's just gonna. Okay. They don't really put a lot of traps in here. They should really consider better security. Because every time I've checked, there's been nothing. But we're avoiding confrontation. We're confronting this little chalice thing with little black Uzis.
He comes.
My hat. Wait, and then I'm gonna hesitate.
Caspian, where do you keep Caspian generally? Where would you say is he on your neck or in a bag or in your pack?
In my pack or on my neck.
So we'll say that the flap of your pack kind of pushes up, and it kind of pops up, and you see his head pop out.
I need you. If I don't survive, I love you. Them that I was doing it so he wouldn't come, and it was very important, and I'm a hero, okay? Ghost is unconsolable. Do not waste their energy. She is crazy. Okay, Caspian, go. Out of the circle. Out of the circle.
And he kind of runs halfway up your arm and kind of puts his head near yours.
I don't think anything bad's gonna happen. So, there's no traps.
And he kind of nods his head vigorously and plants himself on your arm.
No.
And he turns and he looks at the chalice and he takes a little slinky little Martin breath. Looks at you, nods.
Okay. Okay. I respect that. Loyalty is a positive trait.
And right at this moment,
Okay, I'm gonna slap it.
as you begin to reach out of the peripheral vision, the peripheral of your eye, you see a tear appear in the air nearby. A vertical rip in reality somehow. And you can see fingers of tar-like inky black reaching outward from inside of it, right as your hand touches this chalice. And your mind goes white. Back out to Wicket and Pim. These creatures have risen up out of the ground. You can see them shaking off dirt and rock and stone and debris and slinking into kind of a pile and turning a few times where they stand before their heads swivel and they see you and they kind of clack, clack, clack towards you or in your direction. And they kind of hiss. You see them turn and kind of glance and like hiss at each other like the velociraptors in Jurassic Park, you know, like snapping at each other. And then kind of look back in your direction and begin to move. I'm going to have the two of you roll initiative for me real quick.
I got a 19.
19 total?
Oh, wait. I didn't put my initiative,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I got a 24 with my initiative.
Wow.
I got 18.
One time I needed you to roll higher.
Guess what they rolled?
What?
Destiny.
I wish they did that when they were attacking us.
Right?
I
It's a
wouldn't mind them
wasteful
going
one.
first if they got ones on the attack.
Okay. So, hold on. I missed pulling up one thing.
Can't handle my nerves right now.
Right? I'm nervous that we're going into this battle alone.
Definitely having a heart-to-heart with the bathroom toilet.
Especially because me and Akerly keep almost dying. And so I feel like we're just not having the
You're
best
still
luck.
wounded at
To
all?
be fair, Wicket hasn't gotten any like damage ever, and so
True.
she's pretty good at hitting and then running away.
So keep that up. For
yeah.
sure. Keep that up.
Yeah,
No, I'm
that's
healed
good.
now,
Alright.
luckily.
Because you don't have people there to distract other people. You and him are like the only targets. So
This is
Yeah,
also
so
true.
there's not a lot of running away we can do.
But I
Yeah,
can hide
Again,
behind the
we're stuck in this
pillars.
room.
I can hide behind the pillars. They can't attack me if
True.
they can't see me.
Okay. So
Me
we
growing
will
up as a child.
we will go to you, Pim.
Okay, so they're coming at us.
Yes. So they have not had a chance to really move yet. They've not had a
Maddie,
chance.
did you not touch
Oops,
the...
I just switched. Hold on one
the
second.
thing?
I did touch the thing.
Okay.
There we go. We're back.
I make it flow, but I also
So if you recall, you two are here, and you're kind of hard to see in this form right now. I apologize. And the three kind of opalescent, these pink crystals are these creatures. So they are kind of coming out of those three places, about to head in this direction towards you. So Pim, right now,
How far
because it's
away
hard for you
are
to
we from
tell,
them?
it's 5, 10, 15, 20. There's one kind of right in front of you that is 5, 10, 15, about 20, 25 feet away from you.
Okay.
Is the nearest one, which is this one here.
Okay.
And then this one would be probably 30-ish feet away, and then straight across from you at a diagonal about 30-ish feet away from you, roughly. So,
Okay.
Tim, are you still hurt at all, or did we get you healed up before we went into these rooms?
No, luckily I am healed, so
Okay.
just emotionally scarred
Okay.
is all. Okay, so then I'm gonna go for the one that's closest to me. I'm
okay.
gonna pull out my spear.
Okay. And you're going to pull out your spear, and you're going to run in the direction, right? So,
Yeah.
So your speed, you'll do your movement. Your speed is, what is your
I
speed?
have
It's a little-
35.
35, because monk. So we'll get right up on it. 5,
Yeah.
10, 15, 20 feet to get right up on it. And what would you like to do? Attack with the spear?
Yes. I rolled so good.
Are you attacking two-handed or one-handed with it?
I'm gonna do two-handed.
Okay.
And I got a 26.
Hey.
Awesome. 26 will definitely hit. Go ahead and roll damage.
Uh, 13.
13 points of damage as your spear sweeps out. Do you slash it? Do you stab it? What
gonna-
flavor does Pim put on this thing?
Right. Decapitate it.
Wait, what? Sorry,
I
say
don't
again?
think I can decapitate it quite yet. It's blow number 1. Yeah, I'm just gonna go in two-handed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you feel the tip of your spear grind against metal. But you hit pretty freaking hard. I mean, you managed to get the tip of your spear between two of these metal plates. And for whatever it's worth, I am basing this off of a creature. I'll show you. Let's see. It's kind of hard to
Ooh,
see.
cool.
But you can see the segments on that, you know?
Right.
It goes between the segments, and you can feel it just sink into something underneath. You're not sure what's under there, but you get it in, and you rip, and you pry, and a big kind of rip appears in it. You did a whole lot of damage on this thing, and it shudders and kind of curls backwards from you, pulling away a little bit. And kind of like curls in your direction, and then it's like screeches again at the other two that are in the room at you. Is there anything else that you can do on your turn?
Let me see.
That was your
What
action.
are my bonus actions? Let me look at these. Oh, I have new stuff too.
Hold off on the new stuff. From a story point of view, that new stuff doesn't exist yet.
True.
So I'm going to have you guys hold off on some of that stuff real quick. If it's a feature.
How far away am I from the other one, Dave?
The next one over, you're diagonally 5, 10 feet to get in melee with it.
Sounds good. I do. I'm trying to decide if I want to spend a key point yet, or if I want to feel this out for a minute, since there's like several of them.
Character choices.
Right.
Choices. Do I hold the key?
Is
Do
the
I
snake-
use the key?
I'm gonna end there for this first turn.
Okay. Sounds good. You kind of hang tight. Maybe cast a glance at Wicked over your shoulder.
Who's hyperventilating? Oh my gosh, we're gonna die!
Okay. So here's what I now need to have happen. Pim, there's a door right here. You can't really see it on the camera.
Oh, okay.
This is as you look at as you notice this door, as you get done, and it kind of pulls back, and you kind of get into a defensive stance. two things you notice really quickly. One, a flash of white light to your left, and as you turn in a half a second, a blink, you see an odd spectral chalice shape kind of appear in the center of the room.
Okay.
And then to your right, another, it's not even a flash, something draws your attention to the door on the right as this chalice flashes. And you suddenly see this darkness appear from around the edges of the door. And I'm going to need you to make me a wisdom saving throw real quick.
Oh no!
I figured.
Should have known all this was coming. We knew where we ended last time.
Right. 20.
You turn and you feel a sudden desire to go through this door, to open it and to walk through it. And you cannot resist.
20?
Yeah.
You turn and almost in a daze, Wicket, you watch Pim almost in a daze straighten, the spear almost going slack in her hand beside her, its tip dragging across the floor as she walks towards this door. As she does so, the darkness...
As he does so.
Sorry, I wasn't hearing what you were saying.
3 of us have corrected you.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. As this happens, the blackness around the door, it writhes outwards, and it begins to spread across the face of the door, and begins to meet up and kind of weave itself together, almost Venom style, weave itself together across the door until the entire door is covered in a slick black coating that reflects the light of the chalice behind it. And then it solidifies, staying slick. But now it's a door, but it's like a door that's made of this inky, fine, inky, almost tar-like material. And at the very center, at about the height where a knocker or like a peephole would be, you see one kind of bright point of light. And your hand reaches out, and it takes hold of the handle, and you push the door open. And all of this happens in the blink of an eye, quick enough for her to just walk across for the rest of her turn here to the door. For him to walk across the door to the room, open the door. You look beyond, and it's dark beyond. But there's a faint light once again, just flickering in the distance, like a light at the end of a tunnel. And you step through. And you watch in horror, Wicket, as Pim abandons you through this door.
I'm so sorry.
And the door slams shut behind her. And Pim, you fall. You step expecting to find floor and find nothing. And you fall and you tumble through the darkness. And you tumble for a series of very, very long moments, wildly and out of control, but weirdly, not afraid. This presence that drew you through the door still exerts some sort of influence over you. You tumble head over heels through the air, and then suddenly you feel your fall begin to slow. And you right yourself and you land Peter Pan style, almost gracefully, upon a stone floor. It's a raw but well-worn stone floor, and you look around you and find that you are in a cavern, a large cavern. The walls rise roughly up around you, coated in hardened mineral and slick with water. You can hear water dripping in echoing splashes somewhere nearby, and you can see that same silvery light flickering upon the surface of the walls and the high curved ceiling above you, as well as highlighting several stalagmites and stalactites that are rising up from the floor and descending like earthen elemental talons from the ceiling above you. And it's coming from before you. And along with the flickering light, you hear a humming. The sound of a humming. A slow, melancholy tune coming from somewhere between the stalagmites before you. What do? You suddenly feel your presence of mind return to you as you settle into this space.
Just realize you left Wicket to die.
So sorry. I'm gonna go closer to the humming.
Okay. You step quietly across the floor, your feet on the hard, firm stone of the cavern beneath you. You weave among the stalagmites, which are awe-inspiring. They're large, old, like they just feel archaic. They feel ancient to you. And you step around and through, and in a short moment, you come into an open space at the center of the cavern. And you see before you a large, round pool of water in this darkness, maybe 30 feet across. And it's hard to tell from here, but it seems to be the source of the sort of fitful, flickering light that you see in the room. And you also see sitting between you and the bright pool, a silhouette, a kind of largish silhouette of somebody sitting upon a rock. And you can tell that the source of the humming is coming from this individual that's sitting on this rock. Are you being stealthy, by the way?
I'd like to think Pim's always being stealthy.
Why don't you roll me a stealth check? And you do also get advantage on stealth because of boots. Did you give your boots away? Am I remembering wrong that at some point somebody else took the boots?
Someone else is wearing them.
Okay.
I think he gave them to me at one point.
Okay, so
Yeah.
not advantage then. So.
I have a 21.
Okay.
Without advantage.
Right, but the last time
Stealth
she
is my
rolled a
thing.
20, she walked through a dark door. So.
Right, so apparently my high rolls aren't doing much for me today, guys.
I was
You,
about to feel really bad.
I always roll 3s.
You approach. The form before you does not seem to notice you're coming. What would you like to do?
Is it nice?
Let's
Right?
not take any chances.
This is when all of
Surprise
these like
attack
fancy things you guys have where you can like sense if someone is bad or good would come in handy.
Surprise attack.
In an insight check, you can do that too.
I'm going to attempt to kind of sneak up on this person. I'm assuming do I still have my spear with me?
Yeah, you do find that it's still in your hand.
Okay. I'm going to try to stealthily sneak up to this person and then hold my spear on whoever this is and ask who it is.
Okay. You do so, and with that stealth roll, you're able to get right up next to them. As you get closer, you begin to see your eyes adjusting to the darkness with the light. The light flickers upon this form. You see that they are tall. If they were standing, they would probably be 7 feet tall. But you can see that the form is wearing what appears to be a dress of some sort. The dress, to the best of your ability to tell, it's hard to pick out colors in this sort of a light. But it seems to be embroidered with a variety of things. You can see hints of the form of flowers and vines and seeds and things woven into and embroidered into the length of this dress, which goes pretty much right down to the floor. And you also notice fine fur coating the skin that you can see, the neck and the cheeks, and you can see ears that kind of droop down. And suddenly, you are beginning to remember. You've seen quite a few figures like this before in your past, and you realize that the form in front of you is a firbolg of some kind. But you do get close enough to be able to kind of pull the spear. Do you put it, like, touch them with it? What would you like to do there?
I'm just gonna put it up close enough that if I need to do something, I can, but not right up against them because I don't know yet if they are friend or foe.
Okay. And then what? The figure continues to hum, oblivious to your presence.
I'm gonna ask it who it is, what its name is.
Okay, go ahead.
Who are you?
The figure jerks, kind of jumps, the humming stops. What? And kind of stands up and turns towards you in your direction. And you see what appears to you to be a youthful Firbolg face, maybe late teens at most, turned towards you. A female face. Again, colors are very hard to tell here in this, but the figure looks at you with those large kind of bovine eyes that Firbolgs have, and her eyes widen in complete and utter shock, and she looks at you. Who are you? You can't be here!
I don't really want to be here. I don't even know entirely how I'm here. Who are you?
She looks down and notices the spear for the first time, pointed kind of vaguely in her direction. She kind of puts her hands up and steps back. You can't even have gotten in here. How is this possible? And in that moment, the light of the pool behind her pulses, and in synchronization with the pulses of the light, you hear a second voice. Let him come. And at this moment, the Firbolg jumps and spins, heedless of your spear, towards the pool, and shrieks in total and complete fear, and then turns and glares at you and just runs. And you can see now, off to your left, there is the hint of kind of an opening, kind of cave-like, small tunnel-like door opening. And she runs off in that direction and just begins yelling, "Help! Help! Call the seventh steward! We have an intruder, and the astral well is talking!" And she flees out the door there. And you see now that she's gone from between you and the pool. You see the pool more clearly. It is just incredible to look at. It is a pool of water, and you can see hints of kind of ripples every once in a while. But it may as well be the vastness of space. It is a mirror reflection, a mirror image of the cosmos. You can see the stars twinkling in it. You see at one point a shooting star run across the surface of the water and away. And these stars glow with light upon the surface of the water. The blackness between them just vivid and dark in this space. And the water pulses again.
Who said that?
I did. And pulse along with the words. You have come. It is well.
Where am I exactly?
There's a pause. You do not need me to tell you, for you cannot come here without an invitation.
Who exactly gave me an invitation?
Another pause. Step closer.
I'm gonna hesitate for a second, but then I'm gonna step closer.
Do not fear me, child. You know me. And as you take a step closer, the stars brighten just a little bit, and 2 or 3 of them leave the pool and float up and kind of and just kind of hover near your face and kind of around you. Wow, interesting. Someone has been in your head, it seems. Well, that will never do. And faster than you can react, one of these pinpricks of light shoots right through your forehead and into your mind. And the room vanishes. And a heartbeat later, you are running. You come to yourself at a full sprint. You are running across a path that is dusty with scattered rocks upon it, and you are surrounded by stone, boulders and kind of craggy rocks, all the light gray color that's characteristic of the Isle of Charybdis, where you grew up. Your feet know this path, even though you are disoriented. The muscle memory within you has run this path so often that your feet just carry you across this path. And they run around a curve and up a rise, and you pass across the top of this rise, and you look down, and you see the small little dip where the meager, modest stone cottage of you and your father Wesson lies, butt up against the rise of a hill behind it, all made of stacked stone, whitish gray stone, simple in its construction. And you see the space before it, which bears a very small stone-walled garden, not like a courtyard garden or like a walk-in garden or a sitting garden, but a garden of things growing, things that you would eat, with maybe a few flowers. One that you are familiar with because you've had to tend to it on a number of occasions. And you take that in, you take in the thing, you can see the water of the Firth of Prynne beyond, and beyond that, the swirling water of Lake Gyrian beyond that. But what draws your attention are the figures that stand in the space before the garden, before the house. One of them is your father, Wesson, a silver dragonborn wearing loose-fit clothing, the style that is common among the monks of the Isle of Charybdis, standing with his fishing spear in his hands, facing a massive creature that is vaguely humanoid in shape, and made all of inky blackness. Two parts of your mind react to this. There is a part of your mind that takes it in stride, a part of your mind that is experiencing it for the first time. And fear is what you experience. Fear, mostly for your father, Wesson, who is old at this point, and stands firmly but old. And the other part of your mind almost speaks to you. No, that's not what happened. And it feeds you a different image of a similarly shadowy form, but on a much smaller scale. Small, leonine, almost leopard-like, made completely of shadow, 4 legs, low, slinky. Something that would have been fearsome, but much more manageable and familiar, because you've always been told of them, and although haven't had a chance to really fight one, you know that these shadow creatures are here on the island. There's an entire order devoted to trying to get them, right? This thing is tall. It is 10 to 12 feet tall. It is thick across 2 meaty arms and thick through a torso. And its body swirls and kind of glitches outward and kind of wraps and then pulls back again. And then a face appears and kind of at Wesson as he stands against it. And Wesson stands serenely before it. And you see it lash out with one of its arms, and you watch as Wesson slides into his forms. And his spear comes up, and he dodges calmly underneath it. He swings the spear up, which slices at this creature and cuts away a portion of this. It goes flying in kind of a big lolloping kind of, and that splatters across the ground and sizzles and hisses as it hits. And then he kind of pulls back again. What do you do?
Do I fully realize that I'm seeing something, or does it feel like I'm there? Like, does it feel real to me?
It is exceedingly strange, the sensation that you're having, because there is a big part of you that feels like you are having this experience in reality for the first time.
Right.
And not through some weird spectral dream walk thing. It feels like the real thing. And then there is this passenger almost part of you that to some degree realizes that something is going on here, that you are not entirely in control of what is happening in the moment, and constantly comparing it against what you remember from this moment, the moment that your father fell.
I am going to, I guess, kind of try and go closer and kind of try and see and understand what's going on, since this is slightly different than what my original kind of memory of things is.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So you dart to the side stealthily as you can, behind one of the many rocks. It's all rock here. And skirt around and kind of peer out and begin to make your way to the left or the right. We'll say left, down towards the water side. Getting a little lower, but trying to be stealthy and keep out of sight a bit, so as not to draw attention to yourself, and kind of watching things. You watch them dance with each other for a little while longer. This thing takes another swipe or two, and Wesson, generally speaking, manages to bob and weave and dodge in the way that you know that he can. He taught you the forms. And as he does so, you begin to feel a confidence kind of grow within you. Okay, this is out of the ordinary. This is more than anything I've heard of before. But this is Wesson. He's old, but he's got this. You know, you feel pretty confident. That right about then, when that thought is going through your head, is when one of the meaty black hands lands a blow on Wesson, slams into him. You can see the blackness pierce through him, and long, thin, spiky tendrils of taloned fingers protrude from the other side, and pick him up and toss him and about 10 feet away, and he hits the ground, rolls several times, his spear leaving his hand and falling to the ground. And what do you do?
I'm gonna run towards him.
Do you run towards him? So right now, because of the space that you moved, the creature, you've built a bit of a triangle between you and Wesson and the creature. The creature diagonally off to your left to a degree, and Wesson a bit of a straight shot forward. But you would have to pass kind of on the right of this creature to go straight towards. So you're heading towards Wesson?
I'm going to run and try and put myself kind of in between Wesson and this creature.
Okay. You do so. You skirt a bit to the right to stay clear of its reach, and you run around and you slide to a stop. Your very small halfling form. Do you have? You would have your weapon that you had in your training, right? Do you have your spear out, sling out, spear?
I had my spear out.
And it's already moving, the tip of it moving in its forms. You hear Wesson cough behind you as you slide to a stop. This creature sees you, obviously, and it bends and hunkers, and its face looms and splits and protrudes farther. And I'm going to actually change back here to the main overlay real quick. I should have done that earlier. Protrudes towards you and kind of opens, and it's like sticky, and it spreads, and then where the strands break, they become hard kind of black obsidian teeth, and it roars in your direction. You hear Wesson cough. Don't be a fool, Pim. You must flee. Now.
If I do, you'll die.
So be it. You have no need to die today.
But I could maybe save you.
And the creature's kind of stopped and is like almost listening to the two of you talk at this point.
I can save myself. This is above you, beyond you. You are not prepared for this.
How am I supposed to just leave you here?
He looks at you. He hears you. You can see in his eyes that he's just screaming at you, run, go away. And then you can see him accept you. He knows you. He knows that what he's asking is impossible. He knows that if he were you, it would be impossible for him to. You see him push up onto his hands and stand to shaky feet.
Stand by my side.
And he steps forward, and the creature's head cocks as he sees Wesson stand. And Wesson stands next to you, picks up his spear.
Well, Esokin, you have met your match this day, surely.
And he draws a line in the sand with his foot, and you begin to fight. This thing begins to attack, and you bob and you weave and you enter this dance with one another, forms that he taught you and that you both know like your own breath. And you score hits, and he scores hits. But eventually, a backhand catches you and knocks you 10, 15 feet off into the distance. You feel ribs break as you hit the ground. And you see Wesson turn to you and with a look on his face and a struggled breath say, no! And in that moment of distraction, you can see the creature wrap its hand around his throat and lift him from the ground. And in that moment, he shifts. Not the creature, but Wesson. And from his head, you see a shimmer, and then it ripples down across his body like liquid light. And suddenly, a form appears on his form as his body, almost as if it wears a shell of light. You see two new arms appear and reach out and enter into the face of this creature. And you see it begin to struggle, and you see it reaching for breath, and then you see all of the gooey kind of tendrily bits of it pull back in upon itself as it seems to harden and shrivel. And Wesson's arms, these spectral arms that come from him in this kind of silvery bluish white form that match his color, pull out of him and then back in where the chest is. And you see him root in there and begin to move and pull with these. And the creature hardens and cracks appear. And you hear this roar reach from its mouth as it breaks. And from the cracks, silvery blue light shines and it shatters. And you see Wesson fall to the ground. You see the light form, this strange, almost spiritual kind of spectral form surrounding him flicker and then fade. And he lies unmoving on the ground except for just the hint of a breath. What do you do?
I'm gonna go towards him.
Okay. You do. You find him there on the ground. His eyes are open and fluttering rapidly as he stares at seemingly nothing, just into the dirt of the ground. His arm over him, you see silvery blood coming from the many wounds that he's received. You can see a dark bruise starting to appear around his neck where he was grabbed as he kind of lays and looks at the dirt, unaware of you largely as you approach.
Hey, are you okay?
Pimiver,
Yeah, I'm here.
why are you not fishing?
I came back to take you fishing with me.
Oh,
You love fishing.
no one can fish as long as I have and still love it. That is why I have you. Pimiver,
I'm gonna take his hand.
You do. And you feel him squeeze it. And as you take his hand, he coughs again and he turns and looks at you and his eyes seem to clear a bit.
Pim,
Yeah?
that was the Esokin. He came for me. He came for me because of what I am. You saw what I did?
Mm-hmm.
He coughs.
Pim, one day, you will find yourself. Somehow, you will find your way to a very sacred pool of water, a well of great power. You will be offered a way that will be both a blessing to many and a great burden to you. I invite you to take that way. Walk it until you find the strength and the answers that you seek. And when you're called upon, do not hesitate.
Okay.
Pim, in the garden, beneath the rock rose bush, there is a box. When I am gone, take it, it is yours.
And he kind of coughs again and kind of turns, and a large kind of racking cough. You can see silvery blood kind of coming from him as he coughs and to the ground, and he turns one last time and looks at you.
You are my greatest pride. I could not be happier to have known you for a short time.
And with that, his eyes go blank, and you feel him go limp in your arms as you lay there in the dust and the dirt, shards of darkness littering the ground around you, and silvery blood upon your hands and upon the stones. And at this moment, as you're struggling to kind of react to what happened, a shadow falls across you. And you turn and you see a firbolg approach you. This firbolg you have seen before. You know her as Onika, the seventh steward of the steward's circle of druids on the island. She stands in front of you, her thin kind of fur that coats her body the color of buttermilk, with thick black hair that spills out and down in a braid that's literally tucked into her ornate belt that has a buckle that is made in the shape of a lotus. And she bends over you. "Oh my," she says. "Well, this will never do. I'm very sorry for your loss, Pimiver. But I'm afraid that you must unknow what you know." And before you can even react, her hands reach out and grab either side of your head. And you can feel the magic take place. You can feel as your memory is overwritten, as the Esokin, the large humanoid Esokin, shrinks down to a small kind of leopard-like shadow form that is much more normal. And as the entire scene with the astral version of your father attacking the thing is wiped away, and as much of the conversation that you had with him before he died is taken from your mind. A moment later, you find yourself kneeling in the dirt. Annika is not there, nor do you remember her being there. And you look up at the rock rose bush in the garden. And then you're drawn back. And suddenly you find yourself standing beside the pool of water again. There. See, you were invited. And by none other than Wesson, it would seem. I offer you the way of which he spoke. Access to power that will be great, especially in very particular circumstances. The power drawn from this well of key energy. The power of the very stars of heaven themselves. Do you accept? The water pulses along with the words once again.
Yes.
Then step down.
I step down.
And you wade into the pool, descending gradually into its center, a field of stars around you. The water is cool, almost cold, and you enter. Step all the way down.
I do it.
And you dip under the surface of the pool. And as you do so, your eyes open. You can see the stars hanging in the water before you. And several of them begin to kind of in your direction and gather to you in a way. And it becomes brighter and brighter and brighter until you hear the voice say, "It is done. Rise."
I get up.
And you step out of the water. And as you do so, you can clearly see that you are wearing, in essence, a second skin. An astral version of your own body wrapped around you. Shimmering. What color would you like this form to be? And if you don't want to answer just yet, you want a minute to think through it before next time, you can kind of think about and make that choice, yeah?
Yeah.
But we'll leave that up to you to a degree.
Okay.
I welcome you to the way. There are some who will not be pleased, but know that you have entered a noble path, a necessary path, a path too few have trodden, and who none now but you do trod. You will need to work and use and unlock the fullness of the power that has been bestowed upon you. And as he says this, the form shrinks up until just your arms seem to glow with astral light. But it should be of a great benefit to you in times of need. Someday you may return here, and more of your answers will be solved. But for now, you have come in a rather odd fashion, and I'm afraid that you must go. And right at this moment, you hear voices again off to your left. No, I swear, he was in here, and the well is talking. As the other Firbolg appears, and behind her, you see Annika enter the space. She looks at you, her eyes widened. No, Pimiver, this is not allowed. And she begins to walk in your direction. Until next time, the pool says. And you are lifted from the ground
back up through the darkness. And that is where we are going to take a break quickly at that moment. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us, my friends. We will take about a 10-minute break. As per usual, I think I always say 10, and we usually do 11 or 12, but we'll be back. We'll be back rather shortly. We do promise. Until then, snack. Do whatever it is you would like to do with yourself for a moment, and we will see you very shortly. Way to jump in there. We are in fact back, and better than ever. No,
Oh.
it is that time. Yeah, welcome back from the break. Hopefully you guys are all, well rested and stuff. Did you have a good nap? I hope you had a good nap. I hope your tummy's full of yummy snacks right now. Even though it's super late, maybe you shouldn't be eating right now. Think about it.
Or don't.
Or do whatever floats your boat. When we left, we had just finished with Pim, who is now floating upward into the void at last. We are going to shoot back to Wicket.
Oh, the battle camp.
I'm so sorry. I'm coming. I can feel it. I'll reemerge soon. I promise.
And you are left now in this room with one fairly wounded contraption before you and two other ones snapping their jaws and eager to come in your direction. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're feeling, what's going on, but you are technically up in the initiative. What would you like to do?
Just gonna cry. No, okay. Okay, so they're within like 30-ish, 35, you said, feet?
Yeah, they are definitely within about that.
What exactly
5, 10,
are they
15,
within each other?
20, and 10. They're each about 10 feet apart. So it's about 20 feet to the nearest one, the one that's wounded. Whoop, can't get it. As far as between them, there's about 10 feet between each of them. So it'll be about 10 feet to here, about 20 feet across between them here. So they're all within about a 10-foot radius section. Does that make sense? Oh, well, I guess it would be like a 5, 10, 15, 20-foot radius because of the space they're actually standing in of each other.
Okay. Okay. Let me think and read through this thing real fast. Okay. I have a question. So, okay, I have a spell that can hit anybody within like 10-foot range.
Okay.
I also happen to have a fancy little feature on my Moonstone wand that lets me double the distance of a spell.
Okay.
So if it's like the range is 30 feet and then 10 foot within each other, if I double it, does that become 60 and 20?
That is a great question. Hold on just a second.
Forget that you can do magic. That's useful.
Yeah, I have a wand.
Usually you just pop up out of a rock or a stump with your crossbow.
I totally forgot you had magical
A little
abilities.
bit more.
It's been a thing the whole time.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh yeah.
You know what
Just-
I'm going
I
to
just don't
say?
use my magic because the wand is like not always. I
Dependable.
have to do a malfunction check every time, so it makes me nervous because I'm building it still.
I'm going to say, because it's not super clear in this, and I will research this later, but I will say, based on what I'm seeing, we'll go ahead and let you do that now if you'd like to, and then if I find out researching it later that probably isn't a go, then I'll let you know.
Okay, cool. In which case, I'm going to do that.
Okay. What spell are you using?
I'm using Shatter.
Okay.
Let's see.
And
So,
that is...
a sudden loud ringing noise, painfully intense, erupts from a point of your choice within range. Each creature in a 10-foot radius, or in this case 20, because I'm using the feature, centered on that point must make a Constitution saving throw. A creature takes 3d8 thunder damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one.
Okay.
A creature made of inorganic materials such as stone, crystal, or metal has disadvantage on
That's
this saving.
insanity. That's a really great spell for this. That's a really great spell for this.
Good job.
Awesome.
I'm
Okay.
gonna cast that.
So you pull it out. Now, it is verbal, somatic, and materials on the components, meaning that you need to say a word and you need to move your hands, which is the wand at this point. And it requires a chip of mica. And we will say, for the sake of this, the mica is kind of built into the situation, built into the device.
So just so
and everything.
everyone knows, like, Wicket, previous to this, took time in her wand building. She, like, in the weaving of these sticks and raw material things, she, like, took random pieces of everything that might need for a spell and put it into this wand. So everything's in there.
It's like a
And-
Swiss Army knife, but of wands.
But magic.
And we were talking the other day about how, for time's sake, we passed over your last long rest real quick. Probably would have been a time that some of you would have spent working on things or doing stuff, and so I think some of that has happening during that long rest that we skipped over as well. So, but you pull the wand out. Nobody's here to see it because it's just you. But you do pull out this wand and you raise it in front of you, and as always with the wand, energy crackles along it, and the air in a kind of a disc around your hand shatters and cracks, and energy appears between the cracks and then is drawn from those cracks into the wand, and this goes off. Ding! This sudden loud ringing noise, painfully intense in fact, erupting from what point? Are you trying to center it over here? So it's a 10-foot radius sphere, but this would be doubled. So are you going to try and
So
put
if
it
it
like
was like
right
kind of
in
in the middle,
Okay.
would
And
it hit all three?
Yep, you should be able to hit all three just fine.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep, you should be good. Yeah, 10-foot radius, 15-foot radius. Yeah, that's pretty much all of this. So you can push it back so it doesn't hit you. But yeah, it does a real good job, just a smashing job. As suddenly all of these things kind of hear this, and we are going to make some con saves now
And they get disadvantage.
with disadvantage.
See, I told you
Wowza.
you were perfect for this room. You wouldn't have done half this good with a ghost.
And you were scared.
I'm still scared. Doesn't mean
A crossbow.
just because I'm scared doesn't mean I'm helpless, but I'm still
You know, you
terrified.
have just like hanging off your belt.
What?
I said, and you were scared. You have a crossbow.
Ooh, this is an interesting point of order. The bronze scout that I'm using has magic resistance. The bronze scout has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. So it's going to negate the disadvantage and make it an even throw. So it doesn't get advantage, but it also doesn't get disadvantage. So it's going to be a single roll.
All three of them or just for the one?
All of them.
Okay.
The DM has spoken. We spoke too soon. You should be afraid.
It's okay. Either way, they take damage. It's just whether they take full damage
Right.
or half damage.
Okay, so this one fails miserably. Rolled a natural one on this one. So you watch as it kind of pings, and you see it kind of begin to vibrate, and then it actually and shatters outward after crumpling in. The other two, what do I have to save against? Your spell save DC is 13. And the other two also get hit because they take damage no matter what, right? One of the other ones saved and one of the other ones did not save. So one of them will take the full 3d8 damage and one of them will take half damage, I guess, right?
Yes, half damage.
Okay, so go ahead and roll your 3d8 thunder damage.
Okay. And I just roll
One
3d8
time.
and it applies to all three,
Yeah,
right?
because it's a one-time kind of effect of the spell.
8.
Woo!
1.
Go Wicket. Go Wicket. Go Wicket.
8, 1, and 2. So a total of 11.
11 points of damage. Halved for the one. I think we round... something just came out about that. I'll round up for these guys. Half of 11 is, what, 5.5, so 6 points of damage. And then 11 for the other one. So we'll say that, we'll say the one farthest from you is the one that saves. And takes 6 points of damage. And this one here takes the full 11. So you see the same kind of similar effect, a kind of appearance on them, and they begin to be able to struggle in their movements because they're restricted. Things have cramped and kind of closed over, and it's restricting their movement as they kind of glitch and kind of move around, struggling to shake this off. They're both standing still. One of them looks a little more beat up than the other one for sure, but they're both still up and running. Do you want to move, or do you have a bonus
I have to
action?
real fast roll a malfunction check.
Oh, this is true.
So I got an 18. We're good.
Okay.
Okay, so now I can move.
Yep. I don't know if you can see this, if it's easier. You see this little red dot when I use it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's where you are right there. Would you like to move? You've got
I just want
the
to move
altar.
slightly more behind the pillar to hide.
Oh, and I actually kind of moved this earlier. This should be like here-ish. So you've got a little bit of cover right there. But behind the altar, you said? Okay.
Wait. How tall is the altar?
The altar is almost as tall as you are. It's your head pokes up over the top of it.
Mm-hmm. How tall is the broken pillar?
The broken pillar is just a smidge taller than that in the pile that it's leaving. So like if you were to get right here, you're completely covered by the ruins of the pillar. Actually, it's supposed to be like that. Look at me rearranging things. So if you were to be right here, then you would be able to be kind of completely obscured, generally speaking, at least from maybe these two over here. This one might still have a bit of a bead on you across the altar.
But if I duck, can they see me?
You can attempt to hide would be the mechanic. So like if you wanted to spend, I think you can use a bonus action to hide, or is that an action? Let me check.
So was there 4 snakes?
Hide would be an action. So basically you can just kind of huddle back there.
Duck?
The way that it would work is that if they're going to try and hit you with something ranged, then you have like a lot of cover, and you'll get an increase to your AC for the amount of cover that you have. So, but if they manage to get up and over and around things and get up next to you, then that would go away, obviously.
But the one closest to me is gone.
Yes.
So, okay. So I'm just gonna run behind the tallest thing that's
Okay.
right there.
Which is kind of right where you are, just a few feet
Okay.
over. So
And then just like shrink my head down
Okay.
and hope no one gets me.
sounds good. Okay, so that's your turn. At this point in time, it's their turn, and at this point in time, I forgot to. At this point in time, a couple of things happen really quickly. One, these creatures that are a bit shriveled are going to... You watch as they rise up, thrash, and then kind of slink and dive down into the holes that they came out of. And they burrow down into the ground. I'm going to leave those there to show the burrows, but there are no longer creatures on them as they disappear beneath the ground. And simultaneously, you hear a rumble of stone and earth as two new protuberances of earth appear in the space. One right here behind this one, and the other one back over here on this side, as two new mounds of earth kind of, and out of one you see another one of these scouty things appear, and then a second appear a moment later.
Are these brand new, or are they the same ones?
They are new, fresh and shiny and full of life. Two new foes have entered the playing field. Seeing the lone protagonist in the arena at the moment, as those two disappear, I'm going to pull them. And you hear another rumble as one of them suddenly, a few seconds later, bursts up out of the ground behind you.
He's got another marble.
You think through how to best kill you. Oh.
And I'm gonna say, because they can't see you,
Can't see me. They don't know exactly where I am.
I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna roll for luck here on these. What is the chance that I'm gonna leave it up to chance whether they would think to come up kind of where you are or a little farther off to one side. That might seem odd. What I'm gonna do is for each of them, I'll roll separately. If I roll between, let's say, a 1 and a 10, they will pop up on the sort of other corner, and if they roll between a 10 and a 20, they're going to come up nearer to where you are. So I'm going to roll for the first one, and it is exactly a 10. So he's going to pop up over there, and a 7.
Oh.
So there's a little clearance as they both kind of, and I'm going to say one of them's kind of right up underneath where these guys are because they're not really there right now. They're in the ethereal plane. So now you see the two that you had already crippled to a certain degree climbing out of the ground while two fresh new scouts appear in the space before you. And as they pop out...
Question, can you save part of your movement?
And I'm going to need you... Movement cannot be saved, just actions. I need you to make a dexterity saving throw for me.
I can't let it go. Okay. 17?
17. As one of them, the nearer of the two, appears out of the ground, it kind of comes up. You hear it kind of, and a burst of electricity kind of sizzles out from it and climbs across the stone of the earth in your direction. 10, and you did save, so you take half damage, so you're going to take 5 points of lightning damage as the lightning hits the soles of your feet, and you feel it kind of and kind of jiggle you off to one side. Your hair kind of where you are. So yeah, 5 points of lightning damage from that one. And the other one is not quite close enough to get you with it. So yeah, so that's going to do it for it. And we are going to now cut back to you, Bitsy, quickly. Your mind flares white, and you almost aren't there for a moment. And then suddenly your back and you stumble backwards, your hand coming off of the chalice, and you feel just a bit winded, a bit tired, more tired than when you were there a second ago. I can't hear you if you might be muted.
You hear me?
There you go. Gotcha now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Your hand comes off the chalice. You stumble backwards a step, and find yourself back in the space. You look off to your left, and you can see the same rip in the air, kind of hanging there. The tendrils slowly beginning to pry at this rip. It's still working, but is hanging. And you hear the ghostly form of Renzi Hinterhain behind you.
Well done. That is one. But the chalice is not empty. You must empty it before this is over.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna look over the side of the chalice. There's stuff in there.
What's that?
There's stuff in the chalice.
It would be a bit hard. It's taller than you are. I will say it's a big spectral challenge. Chalice. I will say that maybe there's a stone, a crumbled bit of stone there on the ground, and the ethereal version of you kind of steps up on it and kind of peeks over the edge. And you do see a sort of otherworldly liquid floating around.
That's
And
right.
oddly enough, the liquid is a kind of congregation of colors, of silver and of gold and of red swirling together inside of the chalice.
The chalice has been activated. It must be emptied for this to end.
Like, just, tip it over and be done?
No. Place the mark upon the chalice.
I've done that!
And you've done well. We must continue. He comes!
Okay. Again? Okay, I'm not gonna question you. We're trying to worth time, and I'm gonna put my mark.
I think I am actually going to have you do a Constitution saving throw for me real quick, though.
You gotta save. We're frightened.
Uh, 14.
14. Yeah. You feel very tired after taking off from this, but you kind of feel an inner strength kind of well up, and you're like, okay, I got this.
Yeah, dude, I've got this. Nothing can stop me now.
We'll say this for flavor. As she mentions the mark, and you look kind of back down at the back of your hand, which is your left hand, you see a few kind of ethereal versions of spots on your hand, almost like age spots, kind of. But you feel like you have successfully pushed off any attempts on you. But your hand looks almost a little bit thinner and more withered than it used to, but only so slightly.
Your hand aged. This was the wrong room. I want snakes.
Okay, we're good.
Wait, are you becoming a sacrifice too?
I'm gonna cry, guys.
Okay.
Slap my hand on the chalice.
You reach up as she wails, "He comes!" and you hear almost a ripping sound as these tendrils kind of pull this rip in the air open a little farther, and your hand slams down onto this. Anazriel.
My heart is heavy.
You stand in the corner. A part of your mind is there still. You're scared, but not gone. And you've heard the words of this creature on the altar. You've seen Bitsy interacting with this chalice at the center. And I think there's probably a part of you that is like, oh, what am I doing? She's in danger. And then part of you is like, but I cannot go any closer here. And you've felt that bit of a battle inside of yourself there. As she slaps her hand on the chalice, your mind goes white once again, Bitsy. You watch once again. Before, as she put her hand on it the first time, you saw just a hint of shadowy energy kind of come up from the surface of the chalice and cover her hand where it rested against it. This time, you see white, sparkling light kind of up over the hand and lock it into place. And you see another door flare on this side, the ethereal side, with white energy. And I'm going to have you do a wisdom saving throw for me at disadvantage, or maybe not, because is it saving throws? What did I say? Frightened. Ability checks and attack rolls, not saving throws. So I think that you're just doing a normal saving throw.
Bitsy's just handing out magical field trips to everyone. Did you get one?
Oh, that's the best roll I've rolled in a while. It was the one that fell off the table. Oh my gosh. Don't mind me. Sorry, guys. Sorry. That wasn't even better roll. I got a natural 20.
Wowza.
Which saving throw was I doing?
Wisdom.
That's a 22.
Okay. As the door flares and pulls in your direction, you see this sparkling kind of fit of energy come from this thing, and it is a sparkling, almost crystalline white energy that you see coming from this door, and it draws your mind in that direction, and as you focus on it, it pierces into your mind, and you feel your fear vanish. And you hear a voice in your head. Enter the door. Much awaits you.
I'm gonna enter.
Okay.
But you have two options: go toward deadly ghost or go through the door.
We're a very act first, think later type of a group.
What is it about us, Wicked, that makes people want to leave us behind?
The spirit.
I'm not abandoning you. Bitsy's there.
Also, to be fair, I had no choice. So
Yeah, Pim wouldn't have done it if
I wouldn't have done it if I had had a choice.
I've been told much awaits me. I'm going towards the door. They told me to run with the spear. I ran with the spear. They tell me to go towards the door. I'm going towards the door.
And as you in your mind contemplate the idea of going through the door and listening to the voice, a warm feeling spreads through you. And I will say this, in your ethereal form, Akerly, you see Anasriel's form shift and become more corporeal, less ethereal, and you actually see flowers sprout from outside, from kind of underneath the cap on her head, as her spring form almost intensifies its springiness, and she becomes kind of back into herself in kind of full form. This is the way, the voice says, and the spirit turns towards you. The ghost turns towards you and says, "Hurry, he comes." And you
the ghost said that to me?
To you, yeah.
Okay.
Now that you're not scared of it, you aren't as freaked out by it talking. And you move towards the door.
Yeah.
As you approach the door, You see a pinprick of white light that shimmers outwards and encases the entirety of the door in this sparkling diamond-like white light. And at the center is this, at the same sort of spot as with Pim, is this small kind of crystalline white light. As you approach the door and get right up next to it, you can see inside of this this hard white crystal diamond a shimmer of all the colors in the spectrum, like a prism has split the light there almost. And you reach out and you take the door, take the handle of the door, and you enter. And as you touch it, the door turns to mist, and you step through the mist. You enter a pillar, or you enter a room that is round and has 4 pillars within it, one at each end of the room on opposite sides of each other, equidistant from one another, almost as if at the points of a compass rose. You stand in the space, and you see before you, on the floor, you see before you a mirror, about 2/3 of the way between you and the farthest pillar across the room. It is an ornately decorated, gilt-edged mirror, standing there, the sort of that you would see maybe in a wealthy woman's chambers for standing in front of and checking oneself. And on the floor at the center, between you and the mirror, you see that there's a symbol inlaid into the floor. And the symbol is very simple. There is a round, kind of circle of white light, or of white that is kind of glowing white, and a line that extends from that circle and then splits into 4 separate lines. Very rudimentary, and in pink ink. I don't know if you can see. Ooh.
Okay, a circle with a crow's foot. Got it.
Basically, yeah. And that is inside of kind of a circular kind of emblem on the floor like that. If that makes sense. It would be much nicer if I spent a minute on it. But the voice reappears, and it seems to be coming from this mirror. And the voice says, "Approach. Cross the seal."
I'm gonna do that.
Okay. You step forward with a bit of a spring in your step, in true spring fashion. And your foot crosses the seal, steps into it, and you continue until you begin to cross over the symbol itself, and you feel a bit of a shiver pass through you as you step over the circular section of the end. You take an additional step and you reach, your body kind of crosses the point where the line splits into 4 pieces, and then the tearing begins. You feel yourself split. As you move, it's the weirdest feeling, almost impossible to describe, but you can feel yourself dividing. And as you stumble a step, the room flickers, and flowers appear on the walls and on the posts and the pillars. You take another step, flicker, and suddenly the green of summer foliage surrounds you, and the smell of deep summer in the woods and the forest. And the trees have become autumn in shape and in color, and then all the leaves are gone, and a snow drifts down. And you take a final step, and it flickers one more time, and spring is back in the room. And you stand there before the mirror, and you see the spring version of yourself in the mirror looking back at you. And as you turn to your left and your right, you see 3 additional mirrors have appeared. And standing before each of them is you. But you in your autumn form, and in your summer form, and in your winter form. And as you look at them, they look at you and back again. And then they turn and they look back at their mirrors. And you hear the voice once more say, "Do not worry for them. Worry only for yourself. Well, do not worry. This is meant to be." And the image of the mirror flickers. You see yourself flicker. And then the glass in the mirror turns to mist and vanishes. And you see a space beyond.
I'm gonna look to the left and right again. You said they stepped through, or they're in front of it?
As you look to the left and the right after yours does, you can see that Winter, you, is standing pensively, staring at the empty space of the mirror. You can see that Summer grips the hilt of a rapier on her waist. She looks at you once, pulls the rapier free, and steps through the mirror. And Fall nods in your direction, and then passes through her mirror as well, leaving just you and Winter kind of standing there. But really hard to tell what else is going on.
In which case, I'm going to look at Winter to my right.
Left? To your left?
To my left is what I was gonna say.
Right.
And kind of gesture with my chin, like go through, almost dare like. If we can't trust ourselves, we can't trust anybody, and I'm gonna stick through.
Sounds good. And you do so. You step through the mirror, and you appear in... There you are. You appear... I just have to move this over real quick. You appear in a hallway. Around you, you see a stone-flagged floor. You see stone walls rising up around you. You see high in the wall behind you, many ornate windows with light. What's that?
I said I do like windows.
Light filtering down through them at a steep angle, catching motes of dust and particulate that kind of hang in the air. The place is elaborate, but it seems to have fallen into disuse. In fact, as you look closer at the windows, you can see that there's foliage climbing up across the outside of the windows. You can see the silhouette of it against the light. On the wall across from the windowed wall, across this kind of narrow hallway that seems to be the hallway of some sort of a large and kind of glamorous building, a palace, a castle, a campus. It's really hard to tell. But the wall across has doors within it, off to the left and off to the right, and the hall extends off to your left and your right in a curve in both directions. Before you is a larger kind of arched opening, arched in kind of a gothic style. It kind of goes up and then kind of curves, but it kind of in a point, in the sense of almost like a synagogue or a chapel. And you can see a space beyond. And beyond seems, all that you can see from here is another kind of roundish room, and at the center of the room there seems to be what appears to be a statue of some kind. From here it's hard to tell exactly what the statue might be a statue of, although a shaft of light is falling through some opening in the ceiling of that room, and kind of casting a pool of light, kind of bluish light across this statue. What would you like to do?
Gonna look around, notice the windows, notice the dust, probably blow some because they float and they're cool. Notice the statue and go towards it.
You step forward.
Like two tiny things. Let's do this.
I will say that as you step forward, you feel so freaking spring right now. things kind of ebb and flow sometimes, you know, based on moods, and as it does so, your physiology responds. And right now, you can see that the tone of the color of your skin is brighter than it usually is. You can see as you take steps that new growth, grass springs up where you step, and flowers sprout around the outline of your footstep as you step across the stone and into this space and make your way towards the center. It is a simple room with pillars around and a colonnade between the pillars and the outside wall, a kind of hallway that one could walk a circuit in. But beyond that, it's just the open space in the center with a single lectern standing to one side, made of a kind of a rich dark wood, and it stands there. And the statue at the center. As you approach the statue, you notice some things about the statue. It's a bit odd. Normally, a sculpture made of stone like this would be sculpted from like marble or some other thing, and then highly polished, and it would look almost ceramic in nature. This one is very mineral rich. It's almost as if it was cut in this shape, but from like a piece of quartz or something. And it's almost rough in places, like almost accretions have built up upon it, like geode style almost. It's got kind of a bit of a texture to it that isn't the same, and there are bands of kind of colors of crystal running through the statue. It is of a man. It is of an elf, more aptly, tall and stately and thin, and the face long and sharp, but in an elegant sort of way. You can see long ears rising up and hair kind of braided in braids and pulled back. Standing there with a hand kind of Napoleon style, kind of dipped into the coat, and with one foot forward ever so slightly. And in its other hand, which sits down by its side, you can see that it's holding the neck of a lute that is similarly carved from this stone.
I'm gonna hesitate when I realize it's an image of an elf and stop and take this all in.
Okay.
How far would you say I am from this statue now?
I'll let you decide how close you step. 10 feet away? 15 feet away?
Okay, 10 feet away it is.
Okay.
Seems close enough to be able to see all of these details about it.
Okay.
I'm going to circle it.
Okay.
But now I'm feeling very springy, but also with a slight hesitance, knowing that I am staring down this elf statue.
Okay.
And so I'm going to circle it and take this all in for a second and kind of go, yeah, that's clockwise.
Okay.
Kind of go clockwise around it until I'm right back where I'm standing in front of it.
Okay. And as you do so, you see that you have left a ring of spring upon the floor around. Flowers, even toadstools have popped up in small little, almost like fairy rings around the steps that you've left behind you as you circle. And you reappear. And as you do reappear, you hear a bit of a kind of a crackling sound, kind of a, and then a voice speaks out to you. Hail and well met. And
Hail and well met yourself.
and you take it in stride. And you look up and you can see a bit of dust and a bit of mineral fall from where the lips have parted, and this thing has begun to speak to you. Well, it has been many a long year since one of the fourfold elves has graced my halls with their presence.
My head is going to snap up at that.
And you see kind of a and the head bows a little in your direction. You are a vision.
To take a charming smile and bow back.
You are quite a vision. And Oh, no, it's my pleasure. And it's quite a surprise, I'm going to say, to see you here, to find you in my halls. I am Jonas of Avram Torah, and I welcome you.
Thank you. I'm gonna look around again at the kind of beautifully untouched, ethereal feeling ruins. So your home is lovely.
Why, thank you. You should see it when it's all dolled up. Well, why don't I just show you? And you hear a and his hand raises with the lute, and the other one comes out, and the strings get struck, and music pours forth from the lute into the room. And as it does, it washes over you, and it is bright, and it is jaunty. It puts you in mind of a ball. You suddenly in your mind see halls of characters dancing with each other in pairs and then in companies and so on and so forth. And as this happens, light washes outward from this man from the statue across the room that you're in. And all of the dust vanishes, and all of the signs of lack of attendance vanish. Any small cracks in the pillars around are suddenly washed away. Color fills the room. And you can see that banners hang, colorful banners hang between many of the things against the far wall, between many of the pillars. And you can see that there are shelves, and that the shelves are filled with plants of a variety of different colors, flowers and succulents. Abby and I were just talking about these the other day. And many things on these shelves. And you can see that some of these shelves also hold a variety of exotic instruments, more than you've ever heard of before. More, you see instruments that you assume are instruments, I suppose, but have never seen the likes of them before. Things with strings.
Drop my jaw and run up, so whoever looking at as this is taking place.
Do feel free, Jonas says. There's quite a selection. You will not be able to take them with you, but feel free to browse.
I'm gonna reach out and poke it.
Yep.
To see if
and
my hand.
Your hand does come into contact with a small finger harp. It's a
yeah. And I'm gonna pick it up and start.
Kind of a wooden box that has several kind of metallic little fingers that extend from it. You might have seen these. I've seen these online. They're super fun.
Oh, the karimba thing.
That's what it is. It's one of those. It's one of those. Yeah. Go ahead and play. Go ahead and play us a ditty. He says.
Don't mind if I do.
And you play?
Yes, I play.
Go ahead and roll a performance check for me. And we're going to use this as a way to kind of gauge how quickly you kind of figure this thing out and get rolling on it.
I have a, give me 2 seconds. I have a 17.
Awesome. Yeah, it takes you just a moment or two to kind of figure out what the notes are, and then you immediately recognize, okay, this is this scale of music, and immediately start thinking of the type of music you want to play, and before you know it, you're away, running into a song. Something that complements the music that he's playing, that he played into the room. And you hear kind of, and you see that he's kind of turned in your direction with a bit of a kind of cocked eyebrow, and his toe is kind of tapping concretely against the floor. And he smiles. You see a smile kind of curve his mouth, and he looks at you. Well done, he says. You are quite a musical prodigy, it would seem. Now it makes sense why you're here. You're here to join me, are you not?
I don't know. I'm not gonna put it back. Say, I'm not quite sure how I got here. I was kind of standing with a friend of mine. There's a ghost. That's a funny story. I'll have to tell you later. And I'm gonna laugh.
Very interesting.
Sure.
Total nonsense to me, but interesting.
I'm always interesting, and I'm gonna flash a smile.
He smiles back. Tell me, honestly, what is one of the fourfold elves doing out of the Feywild and here in this place?
You're gonna see my smile falter, like, for the briefest second before it goes back up. What are any of us doing where we shouldn't be? Some of us like a little adventure.
I see. And
I don't know.
Honestly? Oh, he says. Ah, you're one of them. Well.
Who's them?
Well, what would be the fun in me telling you that when you could have so much fun finding it out for yourself?
I told you honestly, it's only fair.
Wow.
I'm gonna roll to
Okay, go ahead, roll for persuasion.
persuade. I have a 22.
He smiles a bit at you. Oh, you are a charming one, aren't you? I'd be breaking about 5 cosmic rules if I were to tell you too much. Let me tell you this.
I'm gonna lean forward like we're sharing a secret.
His waist kind of, and he leans forward even closer to you till he's almost nose to nose with you. He smiles at you again. I'll tell you where you're from. I've sort of already told you. You're from the Feywild. Have you ever heard of the Feywild before? And I'll go ahead and stop you here and say that although Feywild is something that's known in the D&D universe, none of you will have heard of it. In Mindalinar, the world that I've created, it is something that is not really known to people at this point in time in the world.
I'm gonna shake my head enthusiastically.
Well,
inviting him to continue.
Let me tell you, the Feywild is party non-stop. From sunup to sundown, if the sun ever went up or down there. It's pretty incredible. And I'll give you this as a freebie. The reason you've forgotten it is because you've passed through the mist.
The mist?
The mist. And I will tell you this and be done. Although you may have been persuaded to make this trip, you did come of your own free will.
So, and I'm gonna falter a little bit. There are others like me?
There have been others like you. And there may be some that walk here in the material plane, but they're a bit off my radar. But you, you're firmly on my radar now.
And I'm gonna look at the ground and then back up at him. So what is it that I'm here to join you for? And I'm gonna lean back.
Well, to join the Consociation of Avram Torah, of course, which is an elite group, I will tell you. I mean, at this point, it's really just me and you, for reasons that I won't get into, other than to say it's not my first wish. Things have happened, and it's been a bit messy. But I think the two of us together can solve all of this in no time. I mean, it'll take you a little bit of growth, a little bit of development, but once you've, stretched your wings ever so slightly and you've grown into your power, we might be able to solve some of these issues and, bring our little consociation back into the spotlight of the wider world, if you know what I mean.
So what role are you gonna play in this? After all, I'm not the one who's, and I'm gonna look down at the pedestal area and be like, a little stuck.
Well, my influence can reach beyond this place, especially once you've been here. And he whistles. He whistles a tune that sounds way better than that. and a bit of light kind of and from the air, and he reaches up and plucks a pin from the air, similar to pins that other versions of you have received in the past. This one is in the shape of a karimba, and from the top of the karimba is growing a small plant that rises up and curls with a bit of a light, like a little globule of light hanging from it. You and me, we were meant to manipulate the very essence of creation. And with this pin in your possession, I'll be able to guide you ever so slightly from this place. There is much that I could teach you, but you must take the trip. I prefer to do my teaching after you've had your experience, and we'll work through things together. But I can promise you, there is much power here, not just for power's sake, but for glory, the glory of creation, the glory of weaving things out of the essence of reality and making them yours, making them do what you wish them to do, and possibly could be used to solve problems or recover that which was lost. Perhaps that which was left behind in the mist.
And my head's gonna snap back again. Recovering something in the mist. Well, why not? I'm gonna take the pin.
Very good. And he pulls up and begins to play on his lute again, and a table appears, and it's loaded with victuals, food and drink across the table. And shall we drink to it, he says.
Why not? I'm gonna pick up whatever drink is closest to me.
Okay.
And down it.
Okay. I like your spirit. And he kind of...
I like you too.
Walks back over to the table and with a bit of a kind of a crunch and a stomp, and he reaches down, grabs a cup and lifts it up. And as he begins to move it towards his head, his hand kind of spasms, and his cup kind of crushes in his hand. Oh, the perils of being metamorphosized into stone, I tell you. But we'll fix that.
I'm going to pick it up and hold it to his mouth.
Oh. And he kind of takes some of it from you, and it dribbles kind of out and around. Well, now you've seen me at my worst. We are good friends after all. And he kind of steps back. Now, you will need to go from this place, but keep that pin close and enjoy the powers that it bestows upon you now that you are a member of this elite club, and explore them, and I will reach out to you again soon. I do appreciate everything that you've done in accepting this from me, and everything that you may do in the future to help the glory of Avram Torah rise once more.
I have one more question.
Oh, do ask.
Why are you a statue?
Oh.
What'd you do?
It is quite a story. I will tell you this. I have loved, and I have lost, and I have been left as you find me.
Because of the love you lost.
He winks at you. Come back for part 2.
Just wanted to make sure you weren't a criminal.
Oh, heavens, no. I was quite famous once upon a time, and there will be those in the world who still remember my name. Perhaps you'll bump into them at some point.
If I do, they're not going to remember your name. My name will be on their lips.
Ooh, the competition begins. I like your style, he says. Should we play one more before you leave?
I'm going to look longingly at the instruments. I shouldn't. As fun as this has been, my friends are kind of in danger, and I was told by a ghost to hurry, but you'll have to wait too.
Ugh, those ethereal plane
Humdrums. Always killing my fun. But I understand. You'll have to tell me more later. Details are what make a story, after all. So, sometime in the future, we'll have to sit. We'll have to sit for a long spell and drink and share each other's tales with one another. Go.
Perhaps some more details about someone's past.
Save your friends. And he kind of looks up and goes, ooh, and like looks over your shoulder. That's interesting.
And I'm gonna look over my shoulder.
And you see the mirror has reappeared in the room.
Oh,
That's how you got here.
I've gotta go. I'm gonna start walking towards it. And then I'm gonna stop right before I go through and turn around and say, bye, it was nice to meet you, handsome, and step through.
And you too. I will talk to you soon. And he kind of steps back into the center of the room, and you watch as all of the finery that he sung into creation kind of melts and drifts down to the floor, and you see a cold, dark room the way that you found it, left behind before you step through the mirror. And you do. You step through the mirror, and
Now, where are those other me's?
the mirror turns to mist once more, and you walk back through, and you do find yourself in the chamber beyond, and you find it's just you standing in the room, and the other mirrors are still where they stood, and you see one of them turn to mist, and you can see Winter. You step through it back into the room, and beyond you see a wintry landscape, a snowy landscape beyond, and you see a figure standing beyond, a startled looking figure who looks like she's just had an experience she was not expecting to have, and you recognize her as I'm going to forget the name. I'm fairly certain it was Lulinov, if I remember correctly, the bard that you bumped into in Clan Arkul, who gave you your pin at that point in time, among other things.
Spring me is gonna rush up to Winter me then and go, fuck ye! I just got a statue.
As you run in the direction of Winter, you are surprised when you slam into what appears to be a completely transparent kind of barrier that separates you from Winter you.
Oh.
Exactly. And you see Winter you look at you and just kind of, before turning and walking back towards the seal at the center of the room.
We're going that way now. Gotcha. I'm gonna look towards the other mirror.
Yeah.
Where's the other Rosses?
Slowly. And after, do you wait for the others to appear?
I'm gonna wait for a minute, yeah.
After just a moment, you do see the others step through their mirrors and into the space. Summer Yu has a look of determination upon her face, and you see her slide her rapier back into its place on her waist, and she kind of looks at you and winks, and you see her do kind of a forward bend into a side kind of twist and kind of come back up on her feet, graceful as a cat. And you hear Autumn Yu laugh, a rich, deep, supportive laugh coming from Autumn Yu. Long brown hair and autumn-themed kind of clothing behind. And they converge towards the seal at the center of the room.
I'm going to head for the seal in the center of the room then.
And you do hear one last voice come towards you. Fourfold elves in the material plane. This should be interesting. Right as you hit the seal.
I'm always interested.
The last thing you say is you begin to feel this coming together kind of feeling, and we are going to break away from you at this point in time, and we are going to break back to Wicket, who has had just way too much time to sit and not have to be nervous about anything. We come back to you, Wicket.
As much time as I could.
standing in this space, and you have just gotten done being shocked by these creatures, and by one of these creatures, as these other two have entered the space. It is technically your turn in the initiative order. What would you like to do? And you're muted, I think.
Okay.
There
it's
you
my
go.
Turn. It's my turn. Sorry. I'm nervous. I'm gonna.
You could just casually take them all out before I get back. That would be appreciated.
I can't. I don't know how. Okay. So I could only use that like one more time though. Okay, so there's the two right in front of me, right?
They're kind of beside you at this point, but yeah, I mean, if you just like turned this way, the two that came up near you, and they're within 15 to 20 feet of you, 10 to 15 feet of you, and then the other ones are about 20 feet farther in that kind of opposite direction to your right now, if you're looking at these two.
Cool deal. Well, okay, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
So I have this spell.
Yeah.
And it says that, like, if I hit it, the target takes 1d12 lightning damage.
Okay.
And then on each of your turns for the duration, you can use your action to deal damage again automatically. So, and then it says the spell ends if you use your action to do anything else, or if the target moves outside of the spell's range. So let me ask you this. I have one other function, a feature thing on my wand.
Okay.
That would allow me to twin a spell.
Okay.
So I could hit both of them. So does that mean, like, because that spell includes hitting them automatically each of my turns, does that mean it would still twin each of my turns?
Sorry, explain that one more time. So if you used it, what would you hope to happen?
If I used it and I hit them both with my twin spell feature on my wand.
Uh-huh.
And so it hits both. But then the spell itself says that as long as they don't move outside of the range, then every turn of mine, I automatically deal damage again.
Right.
But because I twinned it, do I deal double damage still, or?
So the wording on the trait says that you target the second creature with the same spell. So because it says you target it with the same spell, I think the spell would be in full effect as if it were cast on that thing to begin with. So yes, it would absolutely continue to operate as per normal in that way.
Okay. Then, in which case... Okay, yes. I'm going to then... Right? It's 30 feet. Okay, so if they moved outside of that, it wouldn't work. But if they're not smart and they stay in it, then we're gonna go ahead and do witch bolt on both of them.
Sounds like a plan. It is an action. So you're going to roll to attack, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we roll to attack on the first one, and then on the second one, you can target it with the same spell. So you'll just roll to attack both then. So two separate attacks, I think, is how we'll do that.
Okay.
So I think it's
Could I Use inspiration. I have an inspiration.
Is it inspiration from me or is it a bardic inspiration?
I don't remember. I just
Is
have-
the inspiration marker hit, then it's probably that I gave you inspiration, which means you can have advantage on a roll if you need it. So you could roll it the first time. If you don't hit, you can try rolling it again to see if you get an advantage on it. So
Okay, so I'm gonna roll first. Yep, we're re-rolling.
what did you roll?
A 9.
Plus?
Plus 5.
That actually
Right?
hits, so you're good.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So don't worry about wasting that inspiration on that one. And then, so yeah, you attack with this energy, and once again, your wand kind of comes out. The energy, the air around, and that disc, that cuff around your hand that appears in reality, flares, cracks, reality cracks, and the energy is drawn from some space between and into your wand, and it runs through and across the form of a tiny little twig that you've wired onto your wand that looks to be burnt because a twig from a tree that has been struck by lightning is a material component of this, and it runs through that, and this crackling beam of energy shoots out, slams into the nearest one to you, which is the one that took the most damage from your spell last time, and hits it, and it sizzles along its body. Now roll to attack for the second one real quick. We'll see if it hits the second real fast.
Now I'm gonna use inspiration.
Okay. What did you get?
A 3 plus 5.
Yeah, that'll miss.
So I'm gonna re-roll that real quick. plus 5.
What plus 5?
18 plus 5. So
Yep.
I've got
That
23.
will definitely do it. So they both hit. So the energy slams into this, and your energy is kind of a greenish white moonstone flavor, kind of, and it slams into this crackling greenish energy, and that leaps then across from one of these armored behemoths to another, slamming into it, and then the damage begins. Go ahead and roll 1d12 lightning damage for the first one.
Well,
12 points.
yep.
Okay, so that first one, which is the one you did the most damage to last time, the energy slams into it, crawls in between its semi-crushed metallic plates, and begins to light and crackle from the inside. And it shatters. And then it leaps across the other one. Go ahead and roll damage on that second one.
6.
6 points of damage. You see it seep into the other one, which kind of stumbles backwards ever so slightly. It's some metallic jaw snapping in front of it, and it is still up on its feet, but it is singed and it is blackened and it is slightly crushed and it is looking the worse for wear. A bit of dirt and rubble upon its body. Okay, so that's your action. Yeah, and
Gotta roll my malfunction check real quick.
Yes.
And it's a 6, but it's
Okay,
good.
so you're good. And is that a bonus action to use?
Do I technically roll twice because I cast the spell twice, or does it count as like one cast since it was one action?
Say that one more time.
Do I have to roll the malfunction check twice?
Nope. I think that I only have you roll that one. Can only have you roll that once per turn when you cast a spell. So no cup around. So you're good. But yeah, targeted with the same spell. That is going to take off a couple of your spell slots, though. We're gonna say for now until I know better that it does spend spell slots for each of the castings of that spell. Okay, so
Wait, 2 spell slots?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
So 2 of those level 1 spell slots.
Okay.
Is there anything else you can do? Bonus action? Not really too
Run
much.
away.
Do you want to move?
Yes.
So right now, your wand is out, and
And
that
Wicked-
arcing kind of energy is still connected to that second one, and it's like sizzling across, like Harry Potter style, like End of Goblet of Fire, right? In Priori Incantatum, it's like melting across between you and the scout. Do you want to stay put or move a little farther away?
Just want to move far enough that I'm still like connecting my thing because it's still in sight
Right.
and in range. Actually, because if it moves away from me,
Right. Do you want to keep it close?
decisions. How close is it to me?
About 15 feet. Oh, I better pull that off.
15 feet. Okay. We're just stay still. It's fine.
You're gonna stay put? Okay. So you stay put. Awesome. And yeah. So you finish your turn, and it is now their turn. And you watch as the one near to you is going to kind of arcing, affected by this energy, is going to then kind of across the floor in your direction, getting closer to you, and it is going to attempt to bite you.
This is just gonna add on to all your cool scars, except this one actually came
Oh,
from a monster
Some
instead.
scary monsters. I
You can
want
join the
stars.
almost dying club.
I don't like monster stories. I like tinker stories.
Does a 12
just
hit?
an
Does a
ad
12
that-
hit your AC?
Oh no.
It doesn't. And it comes towards you and kind of reaches out, but at the last minute kind of arcs away because of the energy. Its proximity to you is making it kind of sizzle and hiss even more. But you do hear an ominous rumble as the two constructs across the room dive back into the ground, and we're going to see how they fare finding you.
Where is Pim?
I'm still floating in the air somewhere.
They both roll 3s, both of them. So they kind of, this one's right next to you now. This one kind of pops up in the same spot over here, and then into the same spot over here. And as it pops, lightning arcs across the floor. I need you to make another dexterity saving throw for me.
You got this.
5. Okay, so you are going to take...
Oh, I'm in.
It's gonna really haunt me if you die when I like force not taken away.
Why does everyone walk through doors and talk to interesting people and I'm stuck fighting a bunch of crazy metal creatures? 4
You
of them!
already had your interesting moment when you saw a vision. We
You-
all need.
That was a baby thing. That was a baby. That didn't count.
You take 13 points of lightning damage.
Oh, that is a lot.
That is a lot.
Okay.
As it pops up, and yeah, I'm gonna have you roll one more time. Dexterity saving throw as the second one emerges from the ground.
Hang on, Wicket. Pim is coming. I'm in another
Guys,
room.
I think I'm about to die.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Are you sure I am? I only have 9 hit DC left.
All the cool kids choose to live.
It's very true.
To drop one of your favorite quotes, dying is easy, son. Living is harder.
I got a 16.
16. You do save.
Woo!
You're gonna take half damage, which is a good thing. So you
Roll
will
low,
take
David.
6 points of lightning damage as another surge of energy rolls across the floor at you in your direction from this new source.
Are you at a 3
Because
now?
the DM is not.
3 points.
This is when Pim shows up.
It's okay. I'm gonna show up. I can feel it. I'm like,
David's
my
too
feet are
nice
almost
to
on the
let you
ground.
know Pim's floating in the air. Pim's gonna show up.
Yeah.
And you're at 3 for sure.
Stop saying that. It hasn't happened.
And we are going to pause for a moment and cut back to Bitsy real quick.
Oh, that's great timing.
Bitsy, on the other side of this, you stumble away from the chalice, your hand pulling away, a bit of a crackle and a shatter of kind of crystalline light around you. And you stumble backwards as another of these gets dealt with. And I need you to do another Constitution saving throw for me, please.
I got this. 17.
17?
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. You managed to shrug off the potential of damage here from this interaction with the thing. The ghost, the ethereal ghost that is strapped as an otherworldly sacrifice on this altar turns again. You see her eerily kind of clear eyes with its transparent rest of its body look at you and say, kind of out to you, "You are strong. Good." As another tearing sound rips through, and you see this rent in the air open, and this tar-like black darkness kind of slop through onto the ground, and following behind it, you see a figure step through into the room.
Ugh.
No.
What's the point?
The
What's the point?
the figure is a contrast. It is short, about 3.5 feet tall, about your size, as it steps into the room. But in contrast to its stature, it is made entirely of this dark, inky black. You can see all of the features of a male gnome with short, kind of spiky hair, and you can see the texture of like leather armor, like a leather vest over the top of its clothing that you can see the texture of underneath, but the entire surface of the body is kind of a reflecting, kind of slick, kind of inky black as it steps in with eyes on you, completely black, and it kind of smiles and grins in your direction as it steps through. "Very good," he says. "Finally, I can begin."
Res!
And he kind of cocks to one side, kind of looks into the space, and then he looks next to him, like beside him, as if he's looking at something, off towards the altar. "We'll have to talk later," he says. And he pulls out a short, shadowy knife made of inky black, and he rips it across the air. And he steps through. Wicket, on the other side, reeling from this, you hear a horrifying tearing sound.
Oh no.
As the air rends in a slice, and it opens, and you see inky blackness peel forth, and the air around the opening shatters in a very familiar way. As the boundary around it shatters and light appears in the cracks. But the light is dark. It is dark and black, and it wisps out, and with it, a form steps from this into the room and says, and looks across to where you are and says, "Well,
Leave her alone!
there you are."
Stop!
You feel a burning coming from your wand, from your wand hand, your right hand that's clutching the wand. And you see wisps of energy begin to rise from your leather-clad hand. "Very good," he says.
I'm afraid I'm gonna need you.
And he
If
turns,
Kidnapped.
he looks at the two creatures that are over next to you, and you hear him kind of,
Hai, loinash, lako.
and they turn and they kind of nod in his direction. And then he turns and he gestures at the wall behind him and says,
Leshnaka.
and pulls, and a hole appears in the wall, and you see a smooth, scaled, dark metallic form slither out onto the ground, and its hood opens as this large iron cobra appears in the space on the ground. Bitsy, on the other side,
Okay.
the ghost screams, "He's here! Hurry! Empty the cup!"
Roll up.
He's gonna get kidnapped.
Trying to stop him, but I wouldn't come at all.
Did you say you put your hand on the cup?
Yeah.
You do. Wicket, on your side, you see the red door flare in blood red ruby energy. And that's all that happens for the moment as the creatures begin to move in your direction. And then there is a slam, and the door that Pim went through suddenly flies open. And you see as Pim kind of sprints across through the door and into the space and into the room.
She's just gonna cry, Pim.
Breathing heavily, you notice that his arms seem to be glowing, and we'll decide the color a little bit later. But they are glowing with some sort of strange kind of energy. The head of the inky creature, kind of turns in your direction, Pim, and you see it kind of grimace at you and kind of crouch down ever so slightly, and you see it glitch, and like energy kind of fingers of energy kind of fly out, and then he kind of concentrates and it pulls back together around his body. No, as he looks at you. Right at this moment, you hear a massive slam on the red door. And it like shakes in its housing, and dirt and stone cracks and falls to the ground around it. And the cobra flips and kind of in that direction. And the inky man, the ink creature, turns and looks in this direction. And there's another slam. And this time the door flies in off its hinges and lands on the ground. And barreling through the door, you see a large humanoid figure. It's strange at first because all you see is what appears to be a boulder kind of running through the door. And then the boulder cracks in parts, and you see that the two things that appeared to be a boulder are actually two shields made to look like rock. And as it opens, you see a humanoid construct standing there with shields on both arms and with metallic kind of workings all around its body. It's got 2 legs, 2 arms. It's got kind of a circular head with one kind of plate on the front. And as it enters in, it stumbles. And you see it look up. Your right hand flares with heat and with pain. And the crack in reality reappears around you, your hand, and kind of and wisps of your energy tendril and tether and go off in the direction of this construct that walked through. And it stands up as the moonstone colored energy reaches it, and you see the face thing flicker. And you see 2 eyes and a mouth appear, kind of in spectral form across its face. And it stops and it stands up and it looks at you and at the inky black thing and at the cobra nearby. And it says, and you hear a voice come from it, and it says, as it looks at the cobra and then at the inky black thing. I am Adam of the Deep, and you are a threat. And it raises its shields back up, and it runs in the direction of the cobra and just slams into it with one of its things. And I'm gonna have it roll a freaking natural 20.
You are, but thank you.
I'm not dying today. Try tomorrow.
Nice. And deal 25 points of damage. As it slams, you hear a screeching metallic sound as it slams into this thing. Let me pull that back up. Where'd you go? There you are. Snapping and cracking this thing, which hits, slithers and hisses and pulls backwards towards the wall. And the construct stops and stands up and turns. And it looks in your direction, Wicket. And it says, "It is nice to meet you. I will enjoy fighting by your side." And that is where we're going to end. It's just past 11. We've got a bit of a fight that's going to be happening here. And I know how that's going to end up making things happen. And I'm trying to get to where we're 3 hours at this point. So we will wrap this situation up next time, which is rapidly coming to a head. I am super stoked about it. Flip back over here to this. Thanks for coming along for the ride here coming up. Sorry, I'm just rambling now at this point. Thanks to our players. You guys, that was fun. That was super fun to do that. Thanks, Wicket, for playing it solo, man. You did a number on a lot of those things. Fighting alone for the first time, and I cannot wait to see where this goes next.
Do I get an inspiration point?
What's that?
Do I get an inspiration point?
You know what? Wicket fighting solo for the first time? Sure, why not? Take an inspiration point. You done good. And yeah, and we're going to go ahead and call it there for tonight. We will be back again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And whatever the corresponding times are as you travel towards the sunset. So thanks for joining us, those of you that are here. Thanks 00 for the compliments on the stream layout. I appreciate that. We all do. And we're happy to have you here with us. So yeah, and be sure to catch up if you haven't quite caught up yet on our YouTube channel to see those things that have come before. And join us next week for the continuation of, and hopefully the final kind of act of this situation, this deadly situation that we find ourselves in. Yeah.
There we go. Don't forget to follow us on our social media and share it with all of your friends.
Absolutely. And as Abigail always says in our out of character sessions, make good choices, right?
That's reserved for
Make good choices.
Make interesting choices if you can't make good choices.
Somewhere.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, I think that's going to do it. Thanks again, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.